Just give me a second. All right.
Oh my gosh,
Okay.
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if I've been on one of your lives before.
Maybe. What you want to talk about?
Um, I don't have a disagreement actually.
Mm-hmm.
I so it's kind of funny. I think I'm actually attending an Orthodox church for the first time tomorrow.
There you go.
Um, and yeah, it's been quite a journey. I kind of pretty much grew up Protestant, and Uh, yeah, I mean, I even went to seminary for a year, and yeah, I've just kind of just recently been just so surprised how I missed a lot of how important holy tradition is, and um, there's just so many things that have been done throughout the years that I think Protestants miss.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of just crazy to think that I'm leaving there and now gonna try out an Orthodox church. So
It's good to hear, brother. I appreciate you coming
yeah,
up. God bless.
thanks, man.
Of course. Let's see. We got RX agent coming up.
Yo, what's up?
What's up?
Wait 1 second. Let me use
Yeah,
something.
all good. What up, Ayub?
Okay, what's up? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. So, I'm Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
And can I ask you a question regarding the Trinity?
Sure.
Yeah, how do you have exactly one God if you have three different persons you label as God? To say it
Uh,
simply.
yeah. Because so the one God, there's only one being. And that's the Usia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, I didn't mention. Yeah, sorry.
What you?
Using like classical logic, not imperative, right? Identity or something. Okay.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So before you answer the question, I would like you to use classical logic. Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, when you say classical logic, are you referring to like what, how the early church terms the early church use, or like what are you specifically referring to?
Nah, just classical logic, like not hold on to philosophical ways of logic. For example, imperative identity or relative identity, like the laws of logic. You know, right? You know them?
Okay, so you want me to explain using classical logic and like the laws of identity,
Yeah.
etc.
Yep.
Okay, so
Yeah.
really just Aristotelian logic. Okay,
Yeah.
we would say that the essence, or the ousia, the nature, is the what, which it makes up what something is, and then the hypostases are the who, or a you could say like a distinct subsistent individual that's within a rational nature. Like, do you want me to explain how it doesn't violate the law of non-contradiction, or like, I don't really know exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah. You said that. Wait 1 second. You said that they're one God because they're one essence, right? Or did I
What'd you say?
like?
What about the one
You
essence?
said they're one God because they're one essence, right?
There's one essence, the one being. Yeah, there's only one being.
Yeah, but a essence is something that defines you with essential properties, right? So that doesn't mean anything in this case. It's not
Uh,
really solving the issue.
it's a little different with the ousia, because the ousia is also a being,
Yeah,
being of
yeah.
God.
So
Yeah, the being of God. So if there's only one being, there's
yeah,
only one
sure.
God.
That still doesn't solve the issue.
So if you say
I know
yeah,
you believe
sure.
there's one
If you
Osea,
say
but
well, if you say yeah, sure, then you're agreeing. I said there's only one being, and so there's one God, and you're saying yeah, sure.
yeah, well, obviously, yeah. You said there was one being, and from that one being, one Osea, three persons derive, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so that doesn't solve the issue.
I don't see what the
Because you
issue is.
label, wait, let me tell you. Because you label every, listen, it would make sense if you would like label the usia, the being, as God, and then the other three persons as something else, which we don't have. But you label every person or subject of the Trinity as God. You say the Father is God. You say the Son is God, for example. That you label two things, or in this case, three times. You label three times God. That's the problem. Also, you can't really say when you say being, right? You mean the essential properties, right? Because the persons themselves, they have different like attributes as well.
Yeah. So the problem is that we
Hypostatic
label three
attributes.
distinct hypostases as God.
Sorry?
Is it because so the problem is that we have three distinct hypostases that are identified as God, called God. We attribute to
Yeah,
somebody.
three different subjects or persons, whatever you want to call it.
Well, we don't affirm that they're different. They're inseparable. They're just distinct from
Wait,
each
they're
other.
not different? Are
They're
you Thomist?
distinct, not different.
Are you Thomist?
Thomist? No.
What are you?
Orthodox. So we don't affirm Thomism.
Yeah, but they're still different, right? What are the, for example,
You could
do
say
you
I'm a
believe there are
Calvinite.
only? Do you believe that there are only relational differences, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
sure. So
The
that's my point still
distinction of
stands.
roles. Yeah.
Yeah, my point still stands.
Of what? That they're different persons.
No,
What?
yeah, distinct, different. Yeah, distinct is a synonym for
If you're
uh
using
different.
different as a synonym for distinct and meaning the same thing, then sure, I guess you could say that. It's no problem
Yeah,
if
yeah,
that's what you mean.
that's what I'm saying.
But
Yeah, that's
so if
what I
you
mean.
if
It's a different synonym. You can search it on Google.
yeah, okay. Um, when we talk about the God or God, it's in reference to the essence, and since there's only one, the essence or the usia is one being, one God. There's only one God. It just subsists in three distinct hypostases that aren't separate, that are inseparable from each other. That's why there's not three gods.
Yeah, but the problem comes when you label each hypostasis or subjects, when you label them all as God, because you say three. You said, for example, we have the same. Like, we believe there are distinctions within Allah's essence as well, but we only label one thing or person as God. We say Allah exists out of His attributes and essence. We label one thing as God. You label three things as God within the essence. That's where the problem lies. And using the same counting method, you count the persons or subjects with, you would also come out to three gods.
I mean, if you make a category error, sure.
What do you mean with category?
The essence is so there's one essence, three hypostases. The one essence is one being, one God. The three distinct hypostases possess the essence. To say that there are three gods is making a category error and counting the persons as if they're individual like essences
But
or
what
usias.
you said there's only one being, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that being begotten or unbegotten?
One of the hypostases are begotten. One of the hypostases are unbegotten. The one being is
Yeah, so that being is not one thing, not one person, right? You have three different persons that
it's one
derive from
being,
that
not
one
one
being.
person, not one hypostasis. One being.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You have one being with the deriving from that one being three persons, and all those three persons have different hypostatic properties, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't want to say you individually label them as God, because you don't believe they are individual like
Yeah.
gods.
The God.
But
The term God just refers to the divine essence that they fully possess. And so, since there's one
wait,
divine
what?
essence, there's one.
Yo,
When
can you
you
define God for me?
God, the term God pertains to the one divine essence that the hypostases fully possess.
Okay, so when there's only one essence, using the same counting method we do when we count persons, for example, or in our regular day-to-day life, you're saying if there's one essence, no matter how many persons derive from that one essence, there would still be one God in this case, God or human or whatever analogy you want to use.
No, not necessarily. The there's one God because the divine essence is not divided or multiplied across the hypostases. It's one singular undivided essence. For example, humans wouldn't be called one human because the human nature exists separately in each individual.
Yeah, but we all share a common human nature, which makes us human, whatever that may
Yeah, but
be.
the nature exists separately versus the usia doesn't exist separately. It's undivided.
What do you mean? What do you mean it exists separately? Like we all share one same nature. Sure, we have our different attributes, but
what,
just like
like
the
I don't know
Trinity, they also
when you ask
share
me what do I
different
mean, what do you
properties.
need to find? Like what are you confused about?
Yeah, you said our natures live separately, right?
Yeah, like what are you confused about when I say that?
Yeah, but don't we share the one same essence or nature that all makes us human with essential properties and attributes?
We share we each have our own. Hold up, I'm fixing my audio. We each have our own separate human nature.
No, but I'm talking about the yeah.
Yeah,
If
we
you
share
look
one
at it
common
that
thing,
way,
but we
I'm saying
share
one
one
second,
common
bro.
human
One second.
nature, but we each have our own like individualized, um, like it
Yeah, that
persists
would apply
separately
to the
within each
Trinity.
person. No, it
Okay,
wouldn't
why
apply
do we?
to the
Okay,
Trinity because
okay,
the
okay, okay.
usia
Let's
isn't
demonstrate
separated
this.
or it's undivided.
Yeah, yeah, okay, okay, sure. I know you claim they don't, but it leads to that. But okay, let's
Okay, so like,
demonstrate
can
this.
you show? Yeah, show me
Why?
how it
One
leads to that.
second, bro. Yeah, okay, let's demonstrate this. Okay, why do we have different natures, and what makes us different?
Uh, what
What
makes
makes
us
us have different natures? Yeah.
we would say that it's because the human nature is like instantiated within your body and your mind matter.
What do you mean? Can you like elaborate more?
So
Because I don't.
like the human nature is that's like it's a universal concept, right? But it's always instantiated within a particular matter. For example, your each person, like my human nature is instantiated within my body. You have your human nature is instantiated in your body. That's where the separation is. It's an individual
Yeah,
substance.
and I'm
And
asking
if
you,
talking
what
about
is?
classical philosophy, essence plus matter would equal an individual substance.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
asking
So
to
there's
you,
not a
what is
plus
that?
matter within the hypostases.
Yeah, and now I'm
Okay, so it's
asking
not
you, what
separate.
is that? Like a nature is like inherent features or qualities, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what makes us have different natures, different from the one nature we all share, or essence?
Because in as you wanted me to go with classical like classical philosophy and classical theism, in classical philosophy at innate, it's essence plus matter, nature plus matter, which equals an individual substance,
Wait,
according to
you mean
what you
classical
wanted me to
logic?
go.
Yeah, can you say that again? And
It's essence plus matter equals an individual substance.
yeah, I don't understand that, to be honest.
I
English
mean,
is my first language.
you wanted me to use classical philosophy and classical
I
terms.
said classical logic,
Yeah,
but okay.
that's how it's been defined within classical philosophy.
Yeah, okay. Can you elaborate more?
What do you want elaborated on?
Because I ask you, what
So
are
the
those?
nature plus the matter being, for example, as it pertains to humans, like your body, um, it then equals like an individual substance or your own in, individual human nature. Like the human
Yeah,
nature
but
exists
doesn't the
separately in each
person?
person.
doesn't the persons of the Trinity all like have their own hypostatic properties and attributes?
It depends. What are you specifically referring to by hypostatic properties?
Yeah, for example, the Son derives from the Father, right? And he is begotten of the
Yeah.
Father.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, those are different attributes.
Mm-hmm.
So,
They have their own unique hypostatic properties, but it doesn't divide the essence. How would that divide the ousia?
yeah, I'm not saying they are essential like attributes that derive from the essence. I'm saying they are different from one another. And when you say there's one being, thus there's one God, that one being has different like hypostatic properties. So
Different hypostases,
how are
which
you
each
gonna
have their
say
own unique
wait
hypostatic properties.
1 second, how are you gonna say that being is begotten and unbegotten at the same time without labeling all three subjects as good?
Yeah. It's one being who has three distinct hypostases that each have their own unique hypostatic properties. Uh, Within classical logic and classical uh, philosophy, since
Yeah,
the world isn't a
I know
matter
you
and it's
believe
not
I know
individuals.
you
You
believe in
wanted me to
three.
use this, so I'm
Yo,
using
I
it.
know you believe in three distinct persons. You're just saying what you believe. You're not
The
like.
reason it's not is according to what you wanted me to use in classical philosophy. For it to be an individual substance, it would have to have matter. But since it's just essence and
Yeah,
hypostases
what do
that
you
aren't
mean with
matter,
matter? When you say matter, what do you mean
like
with
for
matter?
example, a human matter for the human nature would be a physical body. Since there's not
Okay.
like a physical body or something like that with the hypostases, it's not an individual substance.
So you're saying they're not matters, right?
They're not
The
made out of matter. The hypostases aren't made out of matter. They're metaphysical.
Okay, can you define matter, and not give a like an
Something
example? Okay, define it.
empirical,
Empirical. What is
made
empirical?
out of atoms.
Yeah, what does empirical mean?
Something made out of atoms. You can touch it, see it?
Yeah, you can't see God.
No, God's metaphysical. You can't see Allah. He's metaphysical.
Yeah, we can see God. We believe we can say Allah.
How could you see Allah? So does that mean what if you're saying you can see Allah? Like, does that mean he's made out of matter?
No, we're not saying we don't say he is within time. We say he's outside of time, but we can see him eventually.
Okay, so like you can
Yeah, are you there?
literally see him.
Yeah, yeah, obviously.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
How is that problematic?
But not within like this universe or where we're at right now.
What do you mean, like from this universe?
Like right now, could you see Allah?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Allah would be metaphysical. You would
Okay,
have if he's not,
but
then that means he would be he couldn't be a necessary being. He'd be contingent.
contingent on what?
Atoms, like a body, like something that's actually made out of matter.
Okay, okay. I don't want to derive from the topic, but uh can you say how you come to that conclusion? Because I find this interesting. So if we would be able to see Allah from this universe, he would be contingent on atoms, right?
Yeah, if he had a physical like body, yeah, he would be contingent
Yeah,
on
we
like
don't
matter.
believe he has a physical
Yeah,
body.
so he's
That's not what we
metaphysical.
do. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
But we believe he is like seeable. We can see him.
just not where we're
He
at right now.
takes in space. He I mean, sorry, I don't mean he takes in space, but he takes in like what do you call it in English? Uh like place, you know? He takes in place.
Okay.
So we don't say he exists We don't know where he is on the throne, and he is there. You know, he takes in place.
Okay.
But okay, just to go back to
Yeah,
the
going back to the
Trinity,
topic. Do you know what the principle of individuation is?
the principle of individuation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I heard of it, but I don't know
It's
exactly
like
the.
what make it's basically what makes like this particular being like this particular being. Um, so you do you know like anything about it, or have you or you just like heard about the term before?
Yeah, I heard about it. It's like a unique identity or something. I don't know. I've heard people use the term in debates, but I don't know like the how to use it. You know,
Yeah,
not the exact definition.
yeah. So for example, as it pertains to humans, we are composite beings, right? We have a soul and a body, a
Yeah.
form and a matter, right? Um, another reason why it's not like uh, going back to why it's not um, a separate separate gods is there is God's immaterial. He is simple. He is pure act. Right. There's no matter um, for there to be separation.
Yeah, so I'm not saying they're separate. Um, Although if there would be three gods, it would lead to separation. But my point, you like, can you like directly go to my point because you haven't really. Maybe
Well,
you have answered my
I don't see
point,
what the
but
problem is here.
yeah, the problem
If they're
is you
not
labeled.
separate, if for something to be separate according to classical philosophy, which you wanted me to use, it's something that has an essence plus matter, which then makes them individual. So that's how like humans, that even though we possess a human nature, we're not human. We're not one human being. We're all separate from each other. If that's what makes the separation, and there's not that with God, then there's not three gods. There's just one. So I don't see what the problem is
Yeah,
here.
I haven't heard of this like this um matter plus what? What do you say?
Essence plus matter.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that, so I'm gonna look into that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, nice conversation. Hope you have a great day.
Of
See you.
course. All right. If you guys disagree with the background or have any questions, request up as guest. Sense data. Sense data. What up, Caden? All right, we got Blanca. Is the volume's all good, right?
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. What's up?
Yeah. So me personally, I'm an atheist. And I have nothing against Christians or people that believe in God. I just want to know your way of thinking when it comes to that. Is it something like your parents were Christians and you believe that or something?
No, my parents like, I guess they would call themselves Christians. Not really Christians. I mean, they don't go to church or do anything like that. They just kind of like live outside of that. I just came to like religion and belief in God on my own.
Do you go to church
I do.
every single Sunday?
Uh, as much as I can. I usually work Sunday morning, so sometimes I can.
Oh, okay. I go to church probably every single Sunday where there's a holiday, like Easter,
Mm-hmm.
just because of my parents. I just never understood really like religion or anything like that. My parents were full-hearted Christians. They go to church every single Sunday. Not to say that your parents aren't, but they just love going to church for some reason. By me, I'm just saying that I never liked it. Just never believed in that, I guess. For me personally, what do you believe is after death?
Uh, I I believe after death, you wait until the second coming, and then heaven and hell, millennial reign.
For me personally, it's always been like, I don't remember anything before death, like before birth. I feel like we're all in the stars. We're all made from the stars, and I think
What
that's the
makes you
same way
think
going
that
out.
we're made of stars or from stars?
Because I think, do you not believe in the universe?
I believe that there, there has to be a first cause that's fully actualized and is a conscious being, i.e., God, by necessity.
But you believe that God created, like, the universe and all that.
There has to be a
So
first
that's
cause.
what I'm trying to say. So for me, instead of God creating the whole universe, I just believe in the universe. Just kind of came to be, and that's what I believe in.
All right. Then what would do you believe there is a first cause?
Well, I believe we don't really know about it,
I mean,
to be honest.
we 100% do. I would affirm that we 100% do know.
I want to say that, and I hope you don't take offense to this because I'm not trying to make you take offense. This is my personal belief, but I feel like people created religion because they were scared of what's after death.
Okay. YouTube chat. I'm sorry. I'll just talk louder. Have you? I don't think religion was. If you take the standpoint that religion was created just like to make people comfortable, it doesn't really make any sense. For example, with like the apostles and the supposed eyewitnesses of Christ, they would create this thing to be persecuted, killed, and then they just continue to affirm this thing despite that, gaining absolutely nothing. They gained the exact opposite of comfort, right? Like,
To be fair, though, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Were you still
No,
talking?
you can go. You talk.
So, to be fair, for me, it's like Jesus and everything. I understand that. I believe that Jesus was born. I believe that happened. He has like prophets and everything. I believe that. However, it was also all humans, and it was made to make people feel comfortable in death. Also, because nobody really knows what happens. Nobody knows what happened in general, and anything that's beyond a certain amount of years cannot be trusted because it was all written. We didn't have any video or anything like that. It's kind of word of mouth at that point, but that's just what I believe. I don't believe that the Bible is the truth. I believe that it's just word of mouth. Also, it's been translated over a lot of languages, so it can be, misinterpreted.
All right. Yeah. Have you ever heard of the argument for motion?
I have not.
I'll read you the premises and just tell me if you disagree with any. Premise 1, things in the universe are in motion, motion meaning change. Premise 2, nothing moves itself. Premise 3, a chain of movers can't go on infinitely in a per se causal chain. Premise 4, there must be a first mover that isn't moved by someone else. And then the conclusion is this first mover is what we call God.
So what do you take away from that?
It's a deductive argument. So if you affirm the premises, then the conclusion is a necessary conclusion.
But that was also created by what? By human or by the universe?
I mean, the idea, technically, if you're atheist, you can affirm that it was created by the universe. Because humans were created by the universe.
It's not really, because the universe can't talk.
Yeah, but humans are created by the universe, so like.
Of course they
Well,
are.
humans
They
were
are, of
created by the
course.
universe,
But you don't
the
see
universe created
people. Yeah, but then again, it would have to be coming from people early on, and you cannot believe that is completely translated perfectly throughout the years. You cannot say that.
This?
You cannot say that the Bible is. That's all I'm trying to say, is that you cannot say that the Bible is translated perfectly. You cannot say that anything, what you're saying, like in the olden days, nobody knows about what happened like 100 million years ago. We're like, right now we're like 0.01 about What happened in the universe? There's no way.
But we can logically prove that a first cause is necessary right now.
From who?
From metaphysics.
What?
Logic.
It's not logic.
How is... Do you know, like, what the laws of logic are, perchance?
Yeah, but who invented
So
that?
the laws of
Again,
logic are
again,
It's,
who invented the
I think
laws of
Aristotle
logic?
coined the terms, but they it's not really an invention; it's a discovery.
But then again, what was he? Please tell me.
He wasn't
Human.
a Christian, but yeah, he was a human.
Well, he
So
was human. You have to believe that some people are crazy. I'm not
I
saying
mean
that he was
that
crazy,
doesn't
but
mean he was wrong, though. I mean, you can
it
prove the
absolutely
laws of
does
logic.
not mean that.
They're
But the
self-evident
thing
truths.
is, you can't say that he was absolutely true because it's just not how it works. Because
I
there
could
were a
say that
bunch
he's
of humans
absolutely
before him.
true with the laws of logic. Maybe his other teachings not so
Listen,
absolutely true, but with the
you
laws of
can't
logic.
say that because
Yeah,
he
because you can
hasn't.
prove them.
Did he live during when the universe was created and all that?
Whether
That is a
whether
yes
he
or
was
no
around
question.
when the universe was created has
That is a
nothing.
yes or no question.
This is just non sequitur. It doesn't
That
follow.
means no.
No,
So,
he
okay.
wasn't, but it's non sequitur.
Exactly.
Whether or not he was there when the universe was created doesn't determine whether the laws of logic are true or not.
Okay, a lot of people were smart, of course, but a lot of people that were smart were also wrong. They created the laws of a lot of things.
Okay, so
And
is he wrong? Like, how's he wrong?
He's wrong because listen, you're trying to base things off of him where you're like, this is why God is true. This is why God is
I'm not
everything.
basing it off Aristotle.
So what are you basing off of?
I just said the laws of logic were coined by him.
Okay, and the majority of the world is religious.
No, he wasn't, or he wasn't Christian, so.
So why do you believe him?
Because he's correct
If he
on the
doesn't
laws
follow
of logic.
religion.
He proved the laws of logic. You can prove them right now. Self-evident
Okay.
truths.
Okay. So then why do you believe him?
Because he proved the laws of logic are true.
So explain the laws of logic to me.
So
in simpleton words.
Okay. So the laws of logic, there's the law of non-contradiction, the law of excluded middle, and the law of identity. The law of identity says that basically whatever is. So the formal expression is A equals A. So an apple is an apple. If something is true, then it's true. The law of non-contradiction basically says like a proposition cannot be both true and false at the same time and same respect. So for example, if you were to say that a cat is standing on the carpet and at the same time that same cat is not standing on the carpet, they can't both be true and at the same time and same respect. And the law of excluded middle is every proposition is either true or false. So either a claim you make is true, or its denial is true. AKA.
So how does this connect to your claim?
Well, this is just like a metaphysics as part of it connects to my argument because the argument's based purely upon logic and metaphysics.
So you're saying that because he said that, which has nothing to do with Christianity or anything that you just said. Well, they're
self-evident truths. He proved it.
Okay, but since he said what's true is true, since you say that God is true, that means it must be because he said that.
No, that's not my argument. My argument's a deductive argument.
Please connect the dots for me.
Yeah. It's not it's true. It's a deductive argument where showing that a first cause is necessary in order for existence itself to exist.
What? What are you even talking about?
For the argument I'm making.
You have no argument. I have no idea what you're talking about.
The premises I gave you, things in the universe are in motion.
You're talking about... I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're all good. What do you want to say?
What I meant to say is that I genuinely don't get how that connects to your argument. I feel like you're just throwing out whatever you want to say. I mean, I could say that
Well,
I'm an
you were denying
atheist
logic.
because I'm not. So you're saying that because he said logic is logic, so I'm wrong.
No, because logic is real and they're self-evident truths and they've been proven.
Yeah. So that's what you're. Oh, okay. So, by the way, what you're saying does not compare to what he's saying. I understand that you think that's an argument, but it's
He
not.
coined the
I'm not
term
telling you
and
that you.
then
I'm not.
he
Listen, I'm not
proved that.
telling you. I haven't interrupted you, so. Well, I have, but I apologize for it. I'm sorry. But I'm not saying that what you believe in is not what you believe in. I'll believe in what I want to believe in. I just want to come to an understanding that you believe in what you believe in, I believe in what I believe in, and I don't understand why there can't be any.
Yeah. Oh, hold on.
So do you not?
I forgot to put on streaming mode.
What the fuck is he talking about?
I forgot to put on streaming mode. It's if you go about it like I'm just gonna believe in what I believe in. I mean, it's just not really a smart or logical thing to do. It's ultimately, shouldn't we look and seek for the truth, and whatever we believe in should be justified and proven to be true?
I mean, to be fair, other people will believe in what they believe in. The only question is, are you okay with other people believing in different things?
Well, I mean, if they want to just have an illogical worldview and deny things like PSR and commit anecdotal fallacies, and I'm sure you can. I guess you can do that.
Well, okay, it's okay if you don't believe, but again, my question is, if somebody else does not believe in what you believe in, for example, I'm an atheist, okay? I believe in we're about the stars, we were born from that, and I don't remember anything from birth. That's how it's going to be like after death, and I'm okay with it. So that's what I believe in. You believe in something different, and I'm okay with that because that's your belief. Who am I to tell you that it's different, are you like that or not?
I mean, I would affirm that it's best to spread the truth and the truth that can be justified.
So no.
I don't think we should. I don't think we should be just fine with people living in falsehood or being wrong.
Again, so no. By the way, we were born from the stars. That means we were born from the universe, essentially. We came from the universe, and we're gonna die by it. And I'm fine with, honestly, I'm totally fine with you believing. I respect whatever you believe in. I totally respect it. However, I just don't believe the same thing. But you don't believe in accepting others for what they believe in? I mean,
I believe in accepting
there's a lot of
others,
different
but
religions.
also not.
It's not about spreading the
not
truth,
letting people
because
be in falsehood.
spreading the truth sounds like a cult.
Oh, okay. So, like, if someone's wrong about something, we shouldn't tell them they're wrong and show them how they're wrong. We should.
I'm not telling you that you're wrong.
You're saying spreading the truth sounds like a cult.
No, I said in the way
That's a
that you're
bad
saying
thing.
it. No, I'm saying in the way that you're saying it, that you said Jesus is God, and you believe that
never
everybody else
said
should
that
believe
in this conversation.
whatever. You said that whatever you believe in should be, quote unquote, spreading the truth. That sounds a little bit like a cult.
No,
So
I said
I'm not.
we should spread the truth to people, the justifiable truth.
What is the truth?
A true thing is something that can be justified logically or proven.
No, what is the truth to you that you want to spread?
Not to me. Just the objective truth is that and it's necessary for a conscious first cause. It's fully actualized.
What? No, you were just talking about spreading the truth. So what is your truth?
It's not
that
my
you would
truth,
spread
it's the
to everybody else.
Provable truth that there's a first cause that's conscious.
There's a first cause that's conscious, but I just believe it's, the Big Bang. Okay. That's all.
So the Big Bang's a conscious entity?
Yes.
So it like
Not conscious,
okay,
but
so it's not
it's.
conscious. Okay.
So what do you think is a conscious being that created the earth?
Something has an internal principle of act. I believe that the conscious fully actualized being, fully actualized meaning is has no potential, so it has the omni attributes like all powerful, knowing, etc. That's the first cause and source of everything is God. I mean, that's what God means.
That's what exactly. That's what I'm trying to say is that your truth is spreading the word of God, which is understandable. A lot of people do that. Okay?
It's not my truth. It's the objective, provable truth.
Your truth is not that God is the creator of everything.
My truth isn't that, or the truth isn't that.
I'm asking you, is your truth that or not?
It's the objective truth, including my truth. My truth.
It's not.
If it's not the truth, then engage with the argument. What premise do you disagree with?
The thing is, God is not a fact.
Okay. So then, what premise do you disagree with? Then
Science?
no, the premises I brought up on my deductive argument. Which one did you disagree with? Do you want me to reread them?
Everything. I just don't.
So things
Listen.
things in the universe aren't changing. You disagree with
All
that?
I'm trying to say is that your objective truth, quote unquote, is not God, because God is not the truth, unfortunately.
Okay. If God is not the truth, then since I'm running a
Do you have
deductive
proof?
argument, yes, I'm running a deductive
You don't have
argument.
any proof. What do you have that's the proof? The Bible?
No,
Because I don't have proof about the
haven't
universe.
used the
I could be
Bible
wrong
once. I
too.
haven't
But
quoted
at
the Bible
least I
once.
could admit it. The thing is, I have no proof that like the universe is the truth. Nobody knows. The thing is, I could admit it. Why can't you just
So then you
admit that
violate-
God
well,
isn't the truth?
Because I can prove like there's a God that created the universe.
With what?
The argument for motion.
Oh my
You
God!
don't tell
By
me which
what?
premise you
Oh
disagree
my
with.
God!
You do realize that it's a deductive argument, so if you don't disagree with any of the premises or you don't show how it doesn't logically
You
follow,
have to
then
realize
it's a necessary
it was
conclusion, right?
it was created by a human.
That doesn't matter.
It does matter
That's
because
that's
you know
what we
what's
call a
crazy?
genetic fallacy.
You know what's crazy? That human that created that, like a billion years before that, there was absolutely nothing. How are they supposed to know?
Self-evidence.
How are they? Come on now. There's no self-evidence. Nobody knows.
Do you know what
think
something
that people
self-evident is?
people that we were literally like overachieving monkeys, okay? That's what we were. And they didn't know anything. You think that they wrote down on stone, God is the truth, God is the truth, because they did it.
And this is just a genetic fallacy, dude.
What? Oh my God.
Instead of addressing the argument, you're just attacking the source. You're saying because it's
I'm
from
attacking
a human,
your
it's false.
You think it's
Just
crazy
like me
that I'm
saying,
attacking your
like-
source?
Yeah.
Honestly, I'd be okay if you told me.
No, you're saying because
what
it's a
you
human, it's false, instead of addressing the actual statement that they're
Yeah, I'm saying if it's a human, it can be false. I didn't say it
making. Okay, so
is
then
false.
is my argument false?
Yes.
Okay, so what part of the
No, I'm
premise,
saying
which
that
premise do you disagree
Listen,
with if it's
I am
false?
saying that it can be false.
Okay, but it's
That's
not.
what I'm saying. But it can be.
No, it can't.
It can.
Because
Oh,
it's a
so
metaphysical
you just said
argument.
it was false.
I said it can't be false.
It can be though.
No, it can't. It's a metaphysical argument.
It
The
doesn't
only
matter.
way
It came
it
from a
can
human.
be is if you could show
The
that
only
the
person,
premises
nobody
are
knows.
one
The
of
thing
them are
is,
false or
nobody
they're
knows
logical.
what came in the beginning of the universe.
That-
That's all I have to
that
say to
doesn't
you.
matter.
You
It
don't
doesn't
know.
matter
The
for the
person that
argument.
came from a million years ago doesn't know, because we only know about what happened like a couple thousand years ago. That's it.
Right.
Like you can't. All I'm trying to say is that all I'm trying to get here is that I believe in what I believe in. You believe in what you believe in. I respect what you believe in.
If something
would
is
just
proven,
like listen. I'm just trying to talk here, so I respect what you believe in.
Yeah.
Definitely, I respect what you believe in. I would just like it if you respected what I believe in.
So we should just allow false.
You don't have to understand it or like it or anything. You just have to.
I understand it. I was in that position. It's just a false position.
That's okay. I think yours is a false position, but that doesn't
you
mean
can't-
that I don't
you can't
respect it.
justify that.
That's okay. I don't justify yours either. However, I
You
respect
can't
that
justify why it's
you believe.
false.
Again,
So it's just
I
illogical.
don't
I mean,
justify. I
do you
don't
believe in
justify the
PSR?
way.
Do you know what that is? Principle of sufficient reasoning.
I don't justify the way that you believe in. I'm not going to justify it because I have no reason to.
No,
But I respect
justify
it.
your
I
claim
respect
that
the
it's
way.
false. I'm not asking
Okay,
you to
you don't
justify my
have to.
position.
You don't have to respect it. All you have to do is accept it.
That's just illogical.
Okay, I think yours is illogical too. However, I accept it.
Well, but I can justify why just accepting something is illogical, or saying I just have to accept it is illogical.
It's not
You can't
illogical.
justify
It's
your
just being a.
position because you're just saying
It's just
you're
being a
just committing
decent
an
human
anecdotal
being.
fallacy. Because
I'm
I just
not
don't
trying to
believe your
attack your.
position because I said so, or
Listen,
because I.
I'm telling you, I accept where you're coming from. I accept the way you're thinking. I accept everything that you're doing. However,
This is going nowhere. If you guys disagree with the background or have any questions, request up as guest. Let's get someone up here. This is a waste of time. I tried enough to like make her think about how. Yeah, dream. Come up. It's not evidence; it's proof. It's a deductive argument. Dream Fun, come up as guest. I'll invite you again. I hope you're doing well too, John. How's life been, brother? What do you know is a lie? Stop. What are you referring to? Get feisty with her. Okay. Class dismissed. What? Max, do you want to come up? I mean, is class dismissed, or you guys just not want to come up? What's up, Nero?
Hello.
How are you?
Doing okay. I hope you are doing well too.
I'm doing great. What you want to talk about?
I don't know. I'm an atheist, so curious if you think proves a god.
Yeah. I'll run you through the premises. Just let me know what you disagree with. Things in the universe are in motion. Motion meaning change. Nothing moves itself. A chain of movers can't go on infinitely in a per se causal chain. There must be a first mover that isn't moved by someone else. This first mover is what we call God.
The lack of a need for the saying that you can't go, the universe can't be infinite back in time. That is pretty much unjustified.
Okay. So we. I'll justify that then. So the reason the universe can't. Do you know what a per se causal chain is?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Do you know what a per se causal chain is?
Not by that name, at the very least.
Okay. Per se causal chain, is basically when it's a chain where for any there's potency and act or potential and actualized. For something to go from potential into act, it requires something before that that's already actualized to actualize it, right? Every single cause derives its power from a previous cause. The reason there can't be an infinite regress is because if there's no source for them, if there's just an infinite amount of causes where each cause is deriving its causal power from a previous cause, and there's no source to give this infinite chain of causes its power to begin with, and they can't, the causal chain collapses, it can't function. For example, like if you imagine a chandelier and each chain is a cause, right? It's actualizing the one below it by holding it up, and it's going from potential actual by via the one above it that's holding it up. If we have an infinite amount of these chains and no chain connects to the ceiling or the roof, the chandelier won't hold up, right? There's no causal power where where the chains derive its ability to actualize the causes.
Can you find one example of something that has an ending point of causation?
What do you mean?
So you're saying this is a deductive argument, right?
Yep.
All right. Can you demonstrate one actual example of a situation where there is a, as you said,
Prosaic causal chain.
where you say there is an original point where this causation is sourced from, as I think you phrased it.
Yeah, like you want me to demonstrate a real example of a per se causal chain coming all the way back to an origin point?
My point would be, sure, yeah.
I mean, I already did logically before the analogy.
No, you
Just what
didn't.
it means to be a per se causal chain. How did I not do that?
You didn't give an example.
I gave a logical proof or justification for it.
Okay, what do you think is the justification?
Well,
Because you gave an example that's actually not one, like a chain on a chandelier. Isn't
for
that?
example, if you imagine a hand, a stick, and a stone, right? The hand holds the stick and hits the stone with the stick. If the hand stops moving or actualizing the stick is no longer actualized to hit the stone, and the stone no longer moves. It's an example of per se causal chain. Each one,
So
for the
what
stone to
causes the hand to
move,
move?
I mean, you could just keep going back. Ultimately,
Exactly. So that's the inherent
you
logical.
could keep going back until there has to be a point
You're
where it
proposing
derives.
this like causal chain concept that we have literally zero examples of in reality.
I just gave you an example within reality.
No, because the hand is moved by something else. There is no origin source.
Yeah, and ultimately, for
An
any
example
of
in
them to
reality.
move, no, this proves the point. All I'm doing is I'm making a causal
Yeah.
chain that's only three things long. It doesn't matter if it's 3 or 1,000 long. At some point, there needs to be a first cause or source to give the causal power to everything else. The reason it can't be infinite is because there is no thing giving all these infinite causes causal power for it to even function. It's like just putting an infinite amount of light bulbs and nothing. There's no electricity. You can keep adding light bulbs; they're not going to magically turn on.
Okay, to simplify this, what is the actual first cause per se in the example you gave?
With the 3 different causes, the first cause would be the hand.
So you're saying that the hand is uncaused. It is the source of.
It's just an example of a per se causal chain. It wouldn't be the actual first cause. The actual first cause would be a fully actualized conscious being.
And it doesn't work as an example. Because if it's not actually the origin
It's an
point
analogy,
of it,
dude.
but if it's not actually the origin point of it, you're demonstrating that the only examples you have are of things that aren't what you're saying the universe is.
Without just saying the exact first cause.
Because you're trying to give an example of a concept.
I'm
and
giving
it
an
doesn't
example of a
actually
per se
concept
causal
you're
chain,
describing.
not of a first cause. It's an analogy too. It's
But that's the
analogous,
point.
not literal.
Yes, maybe you have some concept of this in your head, but the point I'm making is that I'm trying to find an example to demonstrate that this isn't a real thing. It's not just something people dreamt up and defined into existence.
All right, so how is this not a real thing? If I just
Can you
gave an
find
example
No,
of
you
a
didn't.
real per se causal chain.
Not in the way you're using it, at the very least, then. If you want to say that the origin source for this chain can just be previous stuff, then suddenly infinite regress is back on the table.
No, because there has to be a source that gives the rest the causal power.
So what is the thing that gives the rest causal
The first
power?
cause.
The hand? Because if the hand is
No,
the thing
the
that gives
first
the
cause.
causal power.
I gave you an analogy. Analogy is analogous to the situation. It's not literally one-to-one.
But again, my point is I'm trying to have you demonstrate that this is a thing that exists in reality, not just something that people
I would just say the
semantically-
first cause. I was giving you an analogy, not a one-to-one example. One example would just me saying the first
example wasn't
cause
particularly
is
useful, 'cause I
a
asked
fully
you for an example.
actualized conscious being that is the source for all causal power within the per se causal chain.
I asked you for an example. Like I don't particularly care if like This thing has been
I just
defined.
gave you an example that you want.
Oh, you keep going back and forth. You just said it wasn't an example.
I said it was an analogy, not an example.
Now you just said it's an example. Now you just said it's an
I
analogy.
gave you
Flip-flopping
no.
between
The
the two.
example was me just saying what the first cause is, just straight up. The analogy was the hand to stick the stone.
Yes.
Just in case you weren't following.
Actual example in real life we can actually identify. If you want it to be a deductive argument, you're saying that this is something that comes from our observations of the universe, right?
Yeah, and self-evident truth. Mm-hmm.
Right. So if there's literally nothing we can observe in the universe that
I just gave you an analogy to it.
But it's not an analogy.
Outside of just saying the first cause, there isn't. Do you want?
Have you observed the first cause? Have you ever observed a first cause?
The first cause isn't observable. Be logical here.
Exactly. Then it can't be a deductive argument.
Observable in a physical sense, no. In the sense of just purely logically proving it, yes.
Then it's not a deductive argument.
How is it not a deductive argument?
Whatever.
If I can logically prove something, how is it not a deductive argument?
It's not logically proving.
Okay, how is it not logically proving it?
Because you're just, as I said, you need an actual example in reality to demonstrate. This isn't something that's just been defined within our system to be like, well, maybe that's a thing possibly somewhere.
Okay. So you want an example, but including the
reality.
Actual for.
Has there been a single thing you've observed in reality that has a first cause that you've observed?
Yeah. Do you know what an example means?
You haven't given an example.
Yeah, because you don't know what an example means.
You haven't given an example.
Because you don't know what an example means.
You haven't given an example.
Define example. How is example defined?
A instance where logic and whatnot plays out in a way that can be demonstrated to actually
something that illustrates or represents a larger idea or concept. Commonly using figurative speech, such as a smile.
But it's something from reality.
For example, her smile was as bright as the sun would be an example. Is it literally as bright as the sun? No, it's analogous. I gave you an example that's as defined, something that illustrates or represents a larger idea or concept, i.e. the hand to stick the stone, but then you're complaining about how it's not literally that larger idea or concept. Because that's not what an example is.
Are you trying to say analogy?
You want me to explain the actual reality, not an example.
Are you saying are you trying to explain a reality?
An example is defined as something that illustrates or represents a larger idea or concept.
Not an you're describing an analogy now.
All right. Dude. We can even go to Merriam-Webster. Here, I'll pull it up for the stream for y'all. Let's go to Webster. For the YouTube stream. Oh, hold up. I even pulled up the dictionary. Look, Webster, one that serves as a pattern to be imitated or not to be imitated. Let's see what else.
Thing that serves as a typical
parallel
case,
or closely similar case, especially when serving as a precedent or model. One that is representative of a type of a group. An instance serving to illustrate a rule or precept or to act as an exercise in the application of that rule.
I think what he was trying to say is that you using God as an example is not.
No, I didn't use
an example because
no,
okay.
I actually did the opposite, and then he was complaining that I didn't use God or actually just use the first cause as the example. I used a hand to stick in a stone, but he wanted the actual first cause to be in this supposed example, which then it's not an example. It's just me literally just describing what it is.
I don't think you could have an example for the first cause because there'd be only one first cause, right?
Yeah. So he was asking, well, is the hand fully actualized, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that's not what an example is. He just wanted me to read out or explain literally the first cause exactly, but then he's asking for an example at the same time, which are kind of contradictory.
I was good with the debate discussing what the first cause must and must not be, because it's like the first instance of time beginning. But then the debate over the semantics of it, I try to avoid the semantics part. It's like a little too much.
Yeah. We can talk about what the first cause has to be, like the necessary attributes and those types of things.
Yeah, so I mean, when you boil it down, the only thing it has to be is a trigger for everything else. Other than that, like you add additional things when you deposit, like consciousness or decision making or morality or attitudes. Like a first cause is just a trigger.
Yeah. Well, there's a little bit more to that. For example, it would have to be conscious. Otherwise, conscious, that would be like having the internal principle of action, which means like the ability to initiate without being initiated. If it didn't have this, then the first cause would require something else to actualize it so that it then had the ability to initiate, which therefore wouldn't be a first cause.
Coming in.
What'd you say?
My bad. I was just gonna say, consciousness requires time. So even the act of consciousness or being conscious or making decisions require time. So they can't be part of that first cause.
Consciousness require not if it's a eternal act, like an eternal act of creation.
Making decisions or choosing to do something or taking actions is not eternal.
If an eternal meaning like it was always making that decision. It never went from a state of not making that decision to making that decision.
All right, so there's a decision and then there's an action taking place, but those are two different things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, unless we combine them and then we're literally just saying the first cause is just the initiation of the rest of the causal chain, right?
Here, whenever it gets into this, right, it becomes like from the Thomistic position, they affirm that something can. God basically willed creation, and it was an eternal will, but something that God eternally willing can create like a temporal action, or something eternally willing can create a temporal action. For orthodoxy, we're not Thomists. We don't go into specifically the aspect of exactly how it was done. So as pertains, as long as it can be logically justified why it has to be this thing, then we can just affirm that the actual mechanics as to how it's done is a divine mystery, or isn't specifically coined from our position, which isn't a problem logically, because we justified that it has to be this way. We just don't have to explain the mechanics.
But I don't think it's justified that it has to be that way, because even in your statement, you say the mechanics of it, which even that requires time, is cause and effect. What I'm saying is simply the only thing that could be the initial trigger for the universe is something that is always in a state of triggering, not in decision making or action taking. It's just one thing that is just triggering.
Okay.
But going beyond that to say conscious, now you're depositing additional things that don't logically make sense. Because if you have something that's eternally taking an action, it's not making decisions and doing different things. It's just a trigger.
So you're just basically affirming that it's just it's non-conscious. It doesn't have an internal principle of action because it was just always triggering or always creating. Right.
Yeah, like a fourth dimensional, fifth dimensional thing that just has a sub-dimensional property of time flow. I mean, I don't have the information on it, but that would not deposit consciousness. That's the only issue.
Okay, so if you're affirming that it's an eternal act of triggering, and it would kind of lead into a logical contradiction there. it's always been causing, but universe in motion has not always existed.
You have something that is not experiencing time, creating time. I mean, that's logically inconsistent itself. So if we're taking that stance, then the only thing that's required in that stance is just the trigger.
Not
The
not
first call, the
necessarily.
entire
I
argument is
I
just
would
that trigger.
say I would say that time is change, right? So it creating time is in the sense that it first did something, or it first made an act of creation. Um, and then that, since time is defined as change, that's the first change, and that sparks time. Versus
But
if
I
you're
mean,
holding
as
that it's an eternal act of creating, but then the effects of this eternal causation is temporal, it's not an eternal universe, it kind of leads into a contradiction. Why is the effect not eternal if the cause is eternal?
well, in the same way, and I'm going to use an example, right? Like water and a bubble. The bubble will grow in size and then pop and then go back down. Now the bubble was temporary, even though the substrate was always there, the water. So like, it's just an example to try and identify.
Wait, say that one more time. Sorry.
Sure, like water, stable water, a bubble forms on it and then pops. Even though that water was temporally there, or the bubble on the water was temporally there, it was made out of the water. That water itself always existed. And so I'm just saying it could be in a state of a fifth dimensional, fourth dimensional substrate, a material that's always there, but on a lower dimension, a third dimension, there's popping in and out of time. Could be an example.
How does that relate to how in something that's eternally creating, but only creates temporally? Like, how's that equate?
Well, that's the only way you can try to rationalize it with the information that we have today, is that it's a higher dimensional thing that only has the property of permanent creation, but it would not be outside of itself. That's why I'm saying the third dimension would have to be a subset of that fifth dimension, because we can't just create something out of nothing from our understanding. So it's not like a God would have a consciousness, which requires time to do thinking and this or that, because that means that the higher dimensional thing, God, would experience time, which would not be true. That would cause issues again, cause problems again. And it had to be a subset, like, of God. So we'd have to be a part of God and not like external, because then that would be God creating things out of nothing, which we also know doesn't happen.
I mean, if you're saying that it's like you can't really rationalize it today, I mean, it's not a refutation argument. It's just like you admitting to like your own personal epistemic limitation.
Is it, well, sure, is it also your limitation?
No, I rationalized why.
So
I
how
gave
do you
my rational
rationalize what we
reason
just
why it
talked
would
about?
have to be conscious. You're saying that you can't really, that it isn't conscious, it's eternal act, but the way how the like way something can be an eternal act but then create a temporal thing, you can't rationalize today.
You're trying to provide a rationale for how consciousness could exist eternally, but consciousness is change in state. It's change in decisions, thoughts,
Yeah,
whatever.
so the change
And
from
every
not creating
example
to
that we have of
creating
consciousness is always that
time.
change of state.
Yeah, the creation of time is when the first cause first went from a state of not creating to creating. If it doesn't have an internal principle of act, then it can't self-initiate. It can't self-create. It's the problem you're going into. It can't be a first cause.
Thinks about creating or decides to create, and it creates. The consciousness can't be the first cause because it requires time.
What? Yeah, consciousness going from the state of like I'm not creating now, and then I'm like, okay, I'm willing to create now and creating. That's change. That's the start of time. The start of creation is the start of time.
Your decision to create takes time. That's a change.
What do you mean?
When anybody thinks anything, you've made a decision, you've had a thought. That's a change in the brain state, the chemicals in your brain, the wavelength in your
Well,
brain, whatever. But it's a change.
the first
Right? That
cause isn't made
requires
out of matter, dude. I don't know how you're equating
even if
a
it
human
isn't made
brain
out of
to a
matter, it's
first
still a
cause.
change. That's
No.
fine. It's still a change. And you're saying consciousness, which we only observe inside of like people, animals, and whatnot.
Yeah, the change is when it went from not willing to create, and that creation is when it wills to create, or not creating to creating. That's change. That's the
So
start
a
of
state
time.
of not creating to creating, and that all that is a flip of a switch from off to on. Which that's what I'm saying. The only thing you could deposit here is just a trigger.
Yeah, it's a flip of a switch going from not
Anything
creating to
beyond that
creating,
requires
and
time
that's
to already exist.
That's the start of time. Time is change. If there is no change, there is no time. Time's defined as change.
So even your God and its consciousness, as you describe it, would have to be subservient to a trigger. Something would have to even trigger God.
No, because it has an internal principle of act, which means it has the ability to self-initiate. If it doesn't have the ability to self-initiate, then it needs a cause outside of itself. And then it's not the first cause.
So all you need is something that has the ability to self-initiate.
Yes, i.e. being conscious, because it has an internal principle.
Give me an
of act.
example of consciousness that has the ability to self-initiate.
For example, outside of my own conscious, my own brain, I can choose to right now speak. I choose that consciously.
And that's not initiated by
choose
anything,
that
is what you're saying.
consciously, and my body then initiates that, or it goes through the processes.
And nothing initiates your consciousness, is what you're saying?
What?
Nothing initiates your consciousness?
Outside of like me being a contingent being and being created, not necessarily.
You're a contingent being. What do you mean?
It's the internal principle of act is the thing within a being that's like the source of its actions or operations, i.e. your soul or your consciousness.
Yeah, but what evidence do you have that your consciousness isn't controlled by your brain? Because all evidence that we have, including how DRUGS affects your brain and your consciousness, when you get anesthesia,
so
you get
then
knocked
the
out,
internal
you go
principle of
unconscious.
act is
It's all the brain, bro.
it is a brain, or is for us is our brain. I can just grant that.
Which is cause and effect, right? Which controls your consciousness. So consciousness is not self-initiated; it's initiated by outside things.
You're saying that all of our evidence, including substances and etc., says that it's our brain. So our brain's our consciousness. Our brains.
Your brain generates your consciousness, right?
So the brain's the source of our actions or operations.
The brain's the source of your consciousness and making decisions, and then triggers your body to
so
do
our
things.
brain's the
But the main
source
point
of
being,
our
you have no
actions and
example of a
operations,
consciousness
right?
without time. You have no example of a consciousness that does not require time or a cause.
Outside of the first cause, yeah.
So you have nothing
Like, that's
in
like
reality
saying- that's
to
like
say
me
that
saying you don't
consciousness
have
can
any
be
example
uncaused, but you
of-
say that you have consciousness uncaused.
No, that's like me asking you. You don't have the example of the first cause of the universe outside of the first cause of the universe. Obviously not. There's only one first cause.
Yeah, so I reduce it to the most minimal argument that I can, logically speaking. And the most minimal argument would be it's a trigger. But you're taking it a step further and saying it's a trigger that has the ability to think and
But
decide.
you can't rationalize how it's an eternal act that creates a temporal effect.
Sure. I
Okay,
can't
so then
rationalize
you
it because it's an
violate
irrational thing.
PSR.
But I just want you to recognize we're both saying the same thing, but you're adding additional things to it. We're both saying it has to be some kind
Because
of
your
an internal
position
trigger.
can't be
You're saying it has to be
rationalized.
conscious.
So
How
it
do you
violates
rationalize
PSR.
consciousness not requiring a cause?
What? How do I rationalize consciousness not requiring a cause?
That's right.
If it's the first
Rationalize consciousness not requiring a cause outside of time.
Rationalize consciousness not requiring a cause outside of time. I'm not saying that our consciousness is is uncaused. I'm saying that the first cause would have to have an internal principle of act. Otherwise, if you're affirming that it's just an eternal act of creating, that's a temporal effect, and it's can't be rationalized, and it violates PSR.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
okay,
Though,
so
is
then
that
your position's
that
illogical. If it violates
both of
PSR.
right now, as we both stand, both positions, something causing without cause is illogical.
Unless it has an
And if you-
internal principle of act, i.e., the ability to self-initiate or
i.e. a trigger, the ability to trigger it, not the ability to think or decide or to have thoughts and
That's what
morality and decisions.
consciousness is, dude.
That's what consciousness is, but that's additional to a trigger. A bomb is a trigger.
A bomb can't set itself off. It could if it had a internal principle of act, which is consciousness. But since it's non-conscious and doesn't have that, it can't set itself off. It requires something else.
So you just
Either
told
a
me that a
timer or
bomb
something else.
a bomb cannot self-initiate, right? And you're
Unless
using
it
the
has
real life
a
reference
timer
of
or
that.
something else outside of itself. It can't self-initiate.
Right, unless it has that.
Unless there's other
hear me
things
out, though.
outside
Hear
of
me
itself
out.
that's been added to it. Or
Hear me
that
out.
trigger.
Any real life example of things requires some kind of a cause, right? To say that a bomb did everything, to say that consciousness did
ultimately
everything.
there needs to be a first cause that is unmoved and doesn't require a previous cause. And since everything else needs to have a cause, up until there is a first cause that is unmoved, this first cause would need to be able to cause itself, i.e., have an internal principle of act, the ability to initiate itself.
That's it. That's
okay, so then
all
it needs
you can make the
consciousness.
claim
That's what
of.
consciousness is.
No, you just
If
added
it's
consciousness.
non-conscious,
That is not consciousness,
If it's
bro.
non-conscious, then it can't self-initiate. It's dependent on something else.
This can't self-initiate either. You admitted to that.
What do you mean? When did I admit that mine can't self-initiate either?
Because we just talked about the brain and how it requires cause and effect to do anything.
If
the
it's a
brain is
human brain,
consciousness.
but it's not a human brain.
You're basically making up a brain and a consciousness, or non-brain and a consciousness that we've never had an example of, and then you have no way of justifying.
You're comparing a human brain and the fact that a human brain is our source of consciousness to the first cause?
You're referring to consciousness, which is a reference to the human brain
If
or
we're human.
brains of animals. Yeah, you're using consciousness as an example, and the only examples of consciousness that we actually have are the physical ones that require cause and effect.
And the logically justifiable
The
one.
made-up one that you're proposing onto God, bro.
The one that you can't denying can't rationalize how it can be the source or first cause without one, violating PSR versus I don't have that problem. I don't violate PSR. I rationalized it. You already admitted you self-admitted that you violate PSR. Your position's illogical.
Yours as well, bro. Saying
but am I
anything
violating the logic,
exists
laws of
without
logic,
cause.
or PSR? Am I violating?
Yes.
Okay.
Something without cause being caused, or something that is not caused, causing everything else. Time not existing, but still having the ability to do
something
things.
That's not caused.
That is a violation.
A first cause violates the laws of logic. What laws of logic does it violate? Where does it violate PSR to?
Where does a first cause violate PSR?
Yeah. If you're saying I'm violating these laws, how's the first cause violated?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. How does mine violate PSR?
I already explained.
Just so I'm clear.
You yourself said you can't rationalize it, which violates PSR, the principle of sufficient reason. You don't have a reason or aka a rationalization as to how a non-conscious being can be in a state of eternally acting, but then have a temporal effect.
Right. Yeah, my bad. So what I'm saying here is that I can't rationalize something that doesn't experience time, meaning it doesn't change, taking an action or doing anything. And I'm saying that you also have no way of verifying or providing evidence that something that doesn't experience change, doing things.
All right.
Hold up. Do you have a way of providing some kind of evidence that something that does not change has the ability to do things?
I'm not saying it's the first cause itself. How how do I word this without being Thomistic? I would say the exact mechanics of it is a no, which isn't a problem. As long as I can logically justify that it would have to be conscious or have to have the internal principle of act, and show that it not having it is irrational, which I already did. You yourself admitted that you can't rationalize it. Then that's fine. As for the exact mechanics of how it works, it doesn't matter. There's no logical problem with saying that we don't know the exact mechanics as how it works, because I've justified that it has to have these things. Yeah, y'all good. For those wondering, the PSR is the principal sufficient reason. It's basically it states that like there's a reason or explanation for that something is the case, but that it doesn't mean that we have to fully
time has to trigger time, and that's the most minimal thing we have to say to be able to make this argument, right? But when you add on top of it the consciousness that we already see has cause and effect and requires time.
Unmoved by anything else that's unchanging has to be the first cause.
Perfect. I'm on board with that.
Okay, so
It's not require consciousness though. That's the problem.
It requires an eternal principle of act.
Sure, of act.
Okay.
Not consciousness.
Okay.
A rock rolling down a hill is act. It's movement. It's change.
It's not an
So it's an
internal principle of act.
There is nothing that has an internal principle of act.
Outside of the first
There's no
cause.
physical example of anything. Yeah, that's right. Except for the thing that we have to make the assumption that has that ability to do that.
Logically justify, because we already agree that there isn't an infinite regress, which can be logically justified, and that there has to be a first cause, which is logically justified. Then it's logically justified that it has to have an internal principle of act. Otherwise, it would need a cause outside of itself, i.e., it's not the first cause. That's the justification.
But that's also irrational, though. Like literally saying that something that doesn't experience time changes things.
No,
Creates
it's saying that something that doesn't experience time has the ability to initiate without being initiated by something external from itself, i.e. being the first cause. If you disagree with that, then that means the first cause requires a cause outside of itself in order to be able to create.
Yeah, but that thing initiating is a change in that thing itself. Is it not?
Once again, the exact mechanics of how it can perform like this, the mechanism is an exhaustive detail. We
don't have to have the detail on it,
but you're asking me the mechanism,
even without the detail,
i.e. the exhaustive detail on how it can do this, which is something that we don't know, and that's not a problem.
I'm not asking for any detail. I'm simply saying something that does not experience time does not change. How does that logically do things? How would it do anything? See, it's illogical on both our points,
about the mechanism,
and we're both agreeing deductively that something illogical must happen. I'm not asking you to give exhaustive detail or provide any kind of argument.
You're literally asking me how.
What I'm saying is, bro,
which is you're asking
both of us
the exhaustive detail.
Yeah, both of us are making an argument for something that is illogical through deductive reasoning, though. Do you agree with that?
No.
So your logic for how something that doesn't change can do things is what?
My position that it
consciousness,
has to have
which
an
requires
internal
change,
principle of act, is logically justified. You're saying it's non-conscious, and your position that it always causes isn't logically justified. It violates PSR. You're just basically claiming it just does, which violates PSR. That's not a sufficient reasoning why the effect occurs. I'm not asking you for the
Saying
exact
that this thing
mechanics
has
on
an
how it is.
internal principle of cause, just like you are, literally like you are. But I'm not saying that it has consciousness like you are.
So it's
because
able to
consciousness
determine
requires
an act
time and
according
change.
to itself.
It's able to determine an act. It's not determining things. It's just taking an action.
It's able
one action.
to initiate without being initiated, act in accordance to itself, not being dependent on anything else.
That's it. That's all
That's
it is just a
consciousness,
self-actualizing trigger.
dude.
Literally, it is not consciousness.
What's a
Literally, your
non-conscious
consciousness
being?
requires input, output. Your question, bro?
Define non-conscious. What's
Conscious is something that does not have
non-conscious?
Non-conscious would be something that does not have a if this then that thought process that enacts some kind of sensory input output.
Kinda. A non-conscious thing is an entity that lacks intentionality, awareness, will, rationality. It doesn't choose or act purpose. It acts purely based off external determination.
It's just cause and
i.e. a
effect,
rock,
but
for
also the
example. A
brain,
rock's a
as we see,
non-conscious thing. A rock doesn't act, just self-act or choose to act on its own. It's non-conscious. It's purely actualized by things external from itself.
So would your definition be that it is something that is not caused by other things? Because I mean, if you take that stance, then there's no consciousness at all.
No, it can't self-act or act with a purpose. It just acts purely based off external determination, like a rock. A rock's a non-conscious being. It doesn't have an internal principle of action. It doesn't initiate itself or act by itself. It's dependent on something outside of itself in order to act. That's why the first cause can't be non-conscious, because if it was, it would be dependent on something else to act. It needs external
Do me a
determination.
favor. Define internal. What was the term used? Internal principle of action or something, or cause of action?
The internal principle of action's ability to initiate without being initiated.
Being initiated. Is the brain and the consciousness initiated?
Ultimately, in an ultimate sense.
So it is not something that has
If
self-actualization
you're asking
inside
for an
itself.
ultimate,
It's
full,
input.
eternal principle
Hold
of
on,
action,
pause.
the only thing is the first cause.
That's all it could be. But when we're talking about consciousness specifically, it's material into the body, reacts inside the body, sensory information into the body, reacts into the body, and has output. But all of that is cause and effect, all the way down the line. Entire consciousness is cause and effect. Now, for you to say that you have some item that has the principle of being caused or being able to cause without being caused, that has to be consciousness because you have an internal ability to think and do things. Well, you just failed there because consciousness requires cause and effect. So you can't relate those two. So again, the only thing you can say with the first cause is literally that it is a trigger.
No. So we would affirm that I guess we would affirm that a human would a human is dependent on other things, obviously for i.e. the first cause for existence, air, food, etc. But it would still have an internal principle of act. A human's internal principle of act would be the rational soul, which allows it to initiate motion, activity from within, i.e. thinking, willing, moving, etc.
From within, sure, but like
arm and
it
your
requires
will,
cause and
not
effect, bro.
something external, is the immediate cause of that. That's it. Your own cause.
Yeah,
So
you could say
that's
internal
why
versus external when it comes to the human mind, but it's still
Now,
cause and effect,
that,
bro.
that can include
You're not free from that.
your own abilities and bodily functions, etc., because it's purely internal within you as a human. That's an internal principle of act. An external principle would be, for example, the human from within itself, like its arm is like completely separate, or a ball, right? the ball
Just
doesn't
tell
have
me
an
if this is cause and
external
effect or not,
principle.
bro. We can cut this short.
What?
Just tell me if what you're describing in the consciousness
It
and
is
internal
cause and
ability to act
effect.
or whatever is great. It's cause and effect, bro. So it's
But
not
it's internally
relevant
cause
to
and
the first
effect.
cause.
It's
Great.
internally
It's
cause and
internal
effect.
versus
So
external,
it's an
but it's still
internal
time.
principle
It's
of
still
act.
cause and effect, bro.
Great, yeah, it's an internal principle of acting. You're initiating via yourself, your rational soul, through your own body. Something that
But it
isn't
requires
an internal
time and
principle of
cause and
act
effect, bro.
is if the act is outside of yourself or initiated by something external. For example, if I push you, you're not, that's an external act. That's me doing that to you. You're not doing that to yourself.
You can skip this. Internal or external, it all requires time and cause and effect actions.
Outside,
Outside,
I mean, within the examples we're giving right now with humans, yeah. Time, because
all
time's
examples
changed.
ever observed of consciousness I'm talking about. All examples ever observed of consciousness I'm talking about.
The ability to initiate without being
The
initiated?
answer is yes. All examples of consciousness ever observed require time, cause and effect, and are physically linked.
Okay.
And to say that God must
that
be,
you do know that wouldn't
must have
logically
consciousness
follow
is special
for
pleading,
a
bro.
metaphysical argument, right? That
No, it definitely follows.
no, because this would just fall into like a form of a gods of the gaps. or
Metaphysical
argument.
argument, consciousness requires time,
Everything
dude.
we've observed, that's an empirical thing. The whole reason this argument isn't a gods of the gaps fallacy is because everything can be justified through self-evidence and not based on empirical things. Now, we can use empirical examples, but it's not based upon empirical observations. You're turning your argument into a gods of the gaps fallacy because you're basing it purely on what we've observed.
You're using what we observed to link it to the first cause.
I'm
bro.
giving examples of what
Yeah, you
of
are.
it within
And
our
the
observations,
examples
but
don't
it's
line up, bro.
justified
It's not
from
analogous.
things completely outside of our observations. It's not justified based on our observations. It's justified based on self-evidence and logic purely. Otherwise, it would be a gods of the gaps fallacy.
All right, let me just summarize real quick. Based on logic and what we said as a conclusion, we must have something that is uncaused with the ability to trigger cause and effect. That's one. We both agree that that is illogical based on what we know. But what we don't agree is that you're saying consciousness could be that first cause, where I'm saying literally, as we just stated, it literally can't be an example of what that is, because consciousness always, in every case that we've ever witnessed, requires time and cause and effect. And to say that some first cause was conscious was to say that it made a decision, which then would be the first thing that ever took place, was the decision itself. So that literally can't be the first thing. All right, long story short, bro, if you could justify how consciousness is not cause and effect, and then you can relate that to a god. Otherwise, you're special pleading the whole way through, bro.
How am I special pleading?
Because every example that we've ever seen and what we know about consciousness is all cause and effect. And you're saying that consciousness
so you're just
must be the
making
first
it a
cause of
gods of the
something.
gaps fallacy, dude. It's a metaphysical argument. It's not based on our empirical observations.
No, because consciousness, as we understand it, is a change. It's a change from one thought to another, and that change is time, bro. So you're saying something that initiated time had to be conscious? Sure. That's illogical, bro.
It would have to have the internal principle of act. The ability
just discussed the only internal principle of act it has to have is just the ability to trigger. Not to think, not to do, not to believe, just to trigger. That's
purely
it.
From itself, without being initiated by an external cause.
What part of that says consciousness?
That's what consciousness is, dude.
Literally isn't, because you defined
if you
it two
want to go off
different
base
things.
everything we've
Consciousness and people is
observed,
cause
right?
and effect,
If
bro.
you want to go off base everything we've observed, a non-conscious being doesn't have an internal principle of act. It doesn't initiate itself without being initiated, i.e. a rock, i.e. a shoe, i.e. a staircase. Versus conscious beings do have, like a human, do have an internal principle of act. I can act purely based on my own body, qua my rational soul or my rational. I can initiate motion and activity from within my body. But that's me. That's me. That's part of me.
Still cause and effect from the external world inward, bro.
From within me. Yes, you're just showing that there's a first cause caused or gave causal power. We would affirm that. That's what the
Real quick,
argument
bro.
is. That there's a first cause that caused everything else. Yes, there is a cause.
Are you conscious if you don't experience time, bro?
You can still be conscious without experiencing time. But
Oh.
that's completely irrelevant at this point. I don't even need to get into the mechanics because
time
I don't
requiring
need to explain the exact
consciousness requiring
mechanics.
time is irrelevant, bro. Really?
Yeah, I don't need to explain the exact mechanics of it.
You
Because I'm
believe in
still
something
within
that
the
you have
line
no
of PSR.
evidence for, basically what you're saying.
No, I gave a rational justification. You are believing in something
Rational
that's
justification
irrational.
was for the trigger, nothing
you
more.
yours-
What's the
okay.
justification for
You
actual
yourself
consciousness, bro?
admitted that you could not rationalize it, and it violates PSR.
Also cannot rationalize it, bro.
Okay, but you couldn't tell me what laws of logic I violated or how my argument violated PSR. What's that?
I wanted to be more skeptical this time. I'm sorry for being so assertive.
All good. What's up?
Okay. So I guess I just have more questions. I mean, that's always the way it's going to be, especially when you come to a certain conclusion and more questions come up. So whenever you were talking about last night, well, actually, I think that was 2 days ago. I don't know if you believe this as well, but he says like the non-existence of pretty much good would be evil, and that like evil just doesn't exist ontologically.
Yeah.
Do you believe the same thing, or?
Yeah. It's a privation of evil.
Okay.
Just 1 second, real
Okay.
quick.
Cool.
I'm just writing something down real quick. All right, you can ask. What was your question?
Okay, so I guess my question would be why would God allow evil? Exactly. Or the absence of evil.
I mean,
Or the absence of good. My fault.
ultimately, it's just a divine mystery.
Okay. I was wondering.
Yeah.
Because I'm glad you submitted to that, because I was looking for so many answers. I was looking up apologist answers on these things, and I just couldn't figure it out for myself.
Yeah. I mean, there's theories such as, or like some people,
Greater good.
for example,
thing.
yeah, greater
Thing.
good, or at least we know like you can't. You can't have true love or without free will and that type of stuff. But like outside of like those bounds or theories, it's ultimately divine mystery.
Okay, I was just wondering. I'm trying to get into philosophy of myself, and just wondering on certain things and skepticizing, and I'm glad you actually answered with good faith on that too, because I was looking everywhere for something,
Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Of course.
Okay, I'll see you.
See ya. All right. If you guys disagree with the background, have any questions, request of his guest. All right. All right. Any of you guys disagree with the background? Request up as guest. All right. Let me check out the YouTube chat. All right. Let's see. Average viewer duration is 41 minutes. Is crazy work. Let's see. What is this fella saying? Special pleading about God. Yes, he's basing it off empirical observations. or that's what he's arguing, which would then just make this a gods of the gaps fallacy. Also, that's not how metaphysics is based on. God exists. Yeah, it's a composition fallacy as well. Yeah. I mean, I kind of I understand why it's confusing because we use um examples like empirical examples, but the grounding of it is not empirical at all. It's based purely on metaphysics and logic. If it were based just purely like empirically, then it would be a gods of the gaps fallacy and that type of stuff. Um, Anyone else disagree with the background wants to request up? Surely there's got to be someone, dude. All right. If we don't got anyone, I think we're gonna end the TikTok live, not the YouTube live. Let's see. Oh yeah. Hold up. Okay. Damn. I had this thing. I needed to write something down because I needed to do something. I forgot it. Um. I'm making a cheat sheet for the argument of motion right now. Like making it the best I possibly can with like the most optimized answers for to share with all y'all. But I keep forgetting like I forgot this one thing I wanted to put an optimization. Yeah, what's up, Jane? Wait, didn't I already have this down? Oh my, I already had it down too. I just didn't print it. Whoops. All right. Jane, what's your question? Let's see. Surely. Should we do reacts too after this? Um, Hold up. What YouTube? What do you want to do? Do you want to hop me to try to join some other TikTok lives for the debates? I know John wanted me to debate Muslims. Um, or do you want to do reacts? It's up to you guys. We'll just wait for. Oh, I don't think Jane's. We'll wait for Jane's question. Hold up. Beast Warrior send something. Hold up. Nothing external exists outside of me, so I don't need to explain it. What? No, I'm not. When did I ever say nothing external exists outside of us? No. I said that we can act without without any cause external for ourselves, outside of, for example, where is it? There's a couple examples, like obviously outside of, like us being contingent beings. It, like we're metaphysically dependent on the sense of like on God and first cause, etc. But we possess an internal principle of act, which means we can self motion or like self cause or self initiate from our will from purely within ourselves. And that's just referring to in the sense of like, for example, I can raise my hand up based purely on my own self cause. Obviously, there's stuff that extends out of that. For example, we're contingent and we require our existence on things outside of ourself, and a first cause, etc. But that doesn't pertain to that. Does a claim with no evidence? Okay. To claim without evidence. All right. Well, can right now I just raised my hand. Nothing else outside of my own body and self to cause me to raise my hand. That's the internal principle of act. The ability to initiate without being initiated. There's limitations, obviously. What's up, Shaw?
Shalom, brother. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
God bless you, brother. I have a prayer request, if I may.
Yeah, of course.
My name's Brother Mark Burton.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here in Roxborough, North Carolina, the eastern part of the state of North Carolina. Because of Hurricane Helene, I am now homeless, without food. Because FEMA funds have been frozen. Because normally, FEMA would be there to help during a natural disaster. But this time around, FEMA has been frozen by the administration. So please pray that God will send people my way to donate. And if anyone's able, my information is in, because I haven't eaten 48.
Yeah. I got you, brother. I got you, brother. I'll keep you in my prayers.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it, brother. God bless.
God bless.
All right. I don't think we got anyone else coming up. All right. What YouTube chat? What y'all want to do? All right. I'm ending the TikTok live. Okay. How do I make a poll? I'm gonna make a poll. Hold up. Can I make a poll? All right. Hold up. I'm making a poll right now. Pop out chat. Wait, what does this do? I don't. Oh, here we go. Engage. Start poll. TikTok. Wait, what? No, don't leave yet. Don't leave yet. We're not going. We're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. Pick. Yeah, we're not going anywhere. All right. What do y'all want to do? Y'all not allowed to leave. I've kidnapped all y'all. We can do a YouTube react or we can do TikTok live debates. All right, debate Muslims. We got it. Bet. Let me find them some Muslims debate. Let's see. Let's see. I'm finding it live right now. Daniel P. Is he on? Wait, is Daniel on? Sakima, is Daniel on? I'm on my phone right now trying to find lives. I just have it muted right now, so you don't have to hear. Daniel. Is he live right now? Oh, okay. Yeah, he's scared anyway, so it's so not true. Let's see. Surely there's got to be at least a good Muslim live. Alright, dude. What are these gooner TikToks, bruh? Give me a live. Okay. Let's see. I don't see anything. Okay. Oh, God bless John. Get some sleep, brother. There's no Muslim lives right now, like, that are any good. Yeah, everyone. It's either they're just the garbage lives, or it's someone. Whatchamacallit? My brain. Or someone's already up there. How about this? How about we react and let's get a video, like a react to a video, and then afterwards we'll see if there's a different one or any new lives. Y'all got any suggestions? I need some suggestions. God bless John. I wish this thing stayed accurate. I need suggestions right now. What should we do? I want to watch, like, argument of motion disproved. Sure, there's more. Oh, hold up. I want to show y'all something. This is the cheat sheet I'm making for all y'all. Hold up. I gotta close my screen because I gotta log in. Okay. We're in. This is what I got so far. It was all organized, and then I started doing oh, no, wait, that's wrong. I started kind of editing it, and then I got kind of lazy, as you can tell. It went from like kind of like this to gradually getting lazier. Oh, what? Wait, hold up. What? Oh, what? Hold up, that's not it, is it? This is it. Here we go. Sorry. This is all new stuff. This is self-evident because you yeah, it's probably got garbage grammar. This is what I got going right now. I think I'll keep adding to it, but pretty soon I will share it with y'all. Like once I feel like it's good enough. I might remove some of this too. Just because, maybe, I don't know. I'm kind of thinking about removing some of this because down here I also have a justification for it, just purely logical. I started doing these just because people kept getting confused from the video I made, with like it being based off of empirical observations and stuff. So I have like purely logical justifications down here as well. Um, right now, to add that I'm going to add like today, I have a thing. Oh, actually, I did this, didn't I? Never mind. What is it? Some internal principle of act stuff I'm gonna add, but outside of that, that's what we got going right now. So it should help like y'all a lot. It has the what is it? It's got the premises in here too. It's got some definitions. All the stuff I argue for, and I made it so that I should have put the premises at the top because originally it was all of this and then this was the bottom, but then I kept adding to it. But basically, it's these premises, and then it pretty much has a response or rebuttal to every position. For example, they ask why there can't be an infinite regress of causes. You can either use this, or you could go down here and use this. Where is it? Here. Also, there is other stuff. I also went into, for example, if whenever I had a justification for something, for example, like where I use PSR or something else, I then put the justification right below that for that terms, etc. But yeah, soon I'll give it out. I just want to make sure it's a little I can optimize it more. Every time I debate and there's something I see that I can optimize, I optimize it. So I don't know how much more optimization is left. It could be done now. It could be something I need to like optimize way more than I think. Here for this, for example, we debated 2 days ago on why it's impossible for God to create evil. I just tossed this in there. But yeah, let's see what we got going on. Oh, this is it. Oh, also there's some things like I don't know how exactly I'm gonna add this, but it is something that needs to be done. Because someone was confused on it whenever I was talking about it. Some of these like answers, like sometimes the argument can go into Thomism, obviously because the argument of motion is from Thomas Aquinas. It includes some of that stuff that we do affirm, but like it's kind of easy to get into Thomism. I just haven't gotten into like exactly like recognizing where that leads into Thomism or not. It's just important to like understand at least what we affirm and what we don't affirm as of right now. Yeah, pretty much a cheat sheet. I want to do this also with EED, an EED cheat sheet. But basically, I was thinking like we could do a document where it's kind of like this, and it's just bullet points of all that we affirm on EED, and then for example, if we say like the distinction we affirm is a formal actual distinction, right under that it'd be a bullet point defining what a formal actual distinction is, and so on. That's what I plan on doing as well. I do want to work on that with someone though. I have someone in mind that's a little bit more knowledgeable than me that kind of taught me about EED. But those are the two things I have planned. This should help you basically just be at where I'm at right now with arguing just by reading off this script. So that should be really helpful. Let's see what their critiques are, just to learn. Let's see. Oh, what? Sort of arguments have to, of course, been criticized over the years. Probably Kant's criticism in the. Oh, how long is this, dude? This is gonna be like 80 pages. 21 pages? I'm not reading that. On stream, at least. I'm not putting y'all through that torture. The elbow cough invasion, bro. Hold up. Christian destroyed in a debate. This guy just gets galloped in this argument. Hold up. Let's find something good. Why is it so hard? Let's do this. Christianity debunked. Oh, actually, now that reminds me, I also I'm putting down on the list for the argument of motion, justification for why we don't need to explain mechanics. I was talking about how we don't have to explain the mechanics for how God can create eternally outside of time and without it violating PSR. I'm gonna have a justification of that. All right. How come very few people have successfully debunked Christianity on a mainstream scale? No one has, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, tough. All right. Brace yourselves, y'all. Oh, hey, Buggy, look up Orthodox Muslim recent video about the Injil. All right, bet. Orthodox Muslim YouTube. Did he say something diabolical? Which one? Ooh, let's do a Bible error no Christian can do. What is it? Injil. What video is it? Let's watch this first real quick. Okay. Oh, hey, wait. That's Mike. He's not going to debunk Christianity. It's kind of a long video, though, so it's about Christians using Christians using taqiyya as diabolical. Okay, let's watch this. Watch him whip out the King Uzziah's age for the 50th time. We don't need to hear this, dude. Hold on, where's the Bible here? Hold up, did I make a video on this? If not, I'm gonna make a video on this. Oh, I need to make a video too already. Hold up. Did I do the census? Okay, I didn't. No sound? Oh, I left it on mute. That's my bad. DZ debate have a video where a lady named Hadash crashed on him. Oh yeah, that's sorry about the sound. He's talking about the census with Quirinius, the contradiction on whether Christ was born during the reign of Herod and Matthew, and I believe, and then in Luke, it's there was the census of Quirinius, which would have placed him after the death of Herod. This one, all it is, the only like the dating we have on that, or like how we know when Quirinius was in rule and when Herod died, is based off Josephus, and all this argument does is presuppose that Josephus is correct in his dating. And mainly it's really like Josephus, who is a historian's dating, versus Luke, who is a historian's dating. Obviously the Muslims side with Josephus because they just have like a hatred for Luke because he's Christian. Ultimately, the way I would go about it is you can't really justify that either one's correct, just like purely based off evidence, because all we have is those two claims. The best way to go about it is just to go about proving Christianity. So like you could just go back to humans don't die for a lie they themselves made up and that stuff. They put truth under their claims, and once you prove Christianity, you can go to like stuff like the Bible being inspired scripture and that type of stuff. You can make that argument. I've heard some people also argue that it's apostate Aladdin video about Christian. All right, I'll do that. I also heard that some people just affirm that's an error. It's probably not the best way I would go about it, but I know some people affirm that too. Is it this one? Are Christians lying to Muslims? Reverse taqiyya. I bet. How's this always behind?
Okay, we are about to create the brand new Game of Thrones.
I recently went down a rabbit hole that started with a video about a weird Islamic story, then a Christian man who thinks almost everything is a woke conspiracy, and finally it ended with
42 minutes, bro. Damn. Is it this video? Is this the right video? I'm debating atheists on TikTok. Alright. I'm just gonna fix that. Latest one with the genetically modified septic. Yeah. What does he even argue?
Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. We could watch David Wood's video about this, but we're not going to do that. I wouldn't want to subject you to that reiterated slop anyway. I love you guys. I wouldn't hurt you like that. We're almost at the Christian taqiyya section of this video. But first, what the heck is a taqiyya?
We have something like that in Texas. It actually comes from Mexico. Little rolled pieces of tortilla with chili powder on the outside. They're really crunchy and spicy. You might have actually had some when you were here once with me.
No, not takis, taqiyya.
Yeah, I once made a video about this with Ali Rizvi, and the sum of that video was basically most Muslims actually aren't really familiar with taqiyya because it's not something they're actually taught. I, as a Christian, was familiar with this, though, because I was taught that Islam instructs Muslims to lie about anything and everything that they want in order to put forth or push forward the kingdom of Islam.
And why did you, an ex-Christian, feel compelled to make a video about it?
There's no point in criticism if it's
the Christian taqiyya.
By the means. Keep that in mind because it is finally time. Drew, do you have the time?
I do. It's Christian taqiyya time.
It is time for the final nook in the seemingly never-ending rabbit hole. Raymond Ibrahim cited this link as the source of the problematic hadith provided by JNDOC, another Christian anti-Islam channel. And as soon as I clicked it, I knew something was off.
I thought he was gonna show that the Bible supports taqiyya. He doesn't even show scripture. 2 snakes, 1 screen's diabolical, bro. So he doesn't even quote scripture. He's just accusing the guy of lying. So that's taqiyya. Really? Uh-oh. Oh. Oh, no. Y'all see this? This is the sign that the live might just evaporate. Hold up. Hold up. I need to fix my Wi-Fi. What's my Wi-Fi speed? I'll turn the thing on in a second. Hold up. I need an upload speed, right? What's it saying? I need oh, it's fine now. Look at this. I have like 45, bro. YouTube's just tripping, bro. It's the I'm back. Speaking of technical difficulties, though, like I have 46,000 kilobytes per second right now, and it's telling me, tell me this. Welcome back, Mario. Oh, what did I just do? Oh, I just thought I just misclicked. Thought I like banned someone. All right. All right. Oh, can y'all see now? Yeah, y'all can see. Sorry. So he's just saying that Christians are committing taqiyya because they're Christian lied. Okay. And it's not really like an argument. Oh, wait. Atheism.com Bible contradictions. Let's find the most this group. This is like when I first started apologetics, I looked up Bible contradictions and I just like found this website. Used to have more. Look, one man esteemed one day above another, another esteemed every day alike. Let every man be fully persuaded in his mind. What's the verse? What's the verse that says that we don't have to keep the Sabbath? What is the verse? I forgot it. Paul wrote it. Okay, here, yeah, Colossians 2:16. Therefore, let no one pass judgment on you in question of food and drink or with regard to festival or new moon or Sabbath. Like, the Sabbath doesn't really matter. It might get controversial. I don't even see the contradiction here, dude. Am I missing something? Like, I'm trying to think of like what the argument is, but what even is the contradiction? Like maybe the context tells us. I don't see what the contradiction is. That no one who ever eats despise the one who abstains. Who are you to pass judgment? Observes the day, observes it in honor of the Lord. The one who eats in honor of the Lord. What is the contradiction? I forget John 1:1. Dude, I feel that. If I ever take like time off, I swear I get dumber. I start forgetting stuff that I should never forget. You just got to keep doing it or keep studying. I don't know, dude. I don't see the contradiction. The earth abideth forever. The elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also. Okay, so what was the verse? Just at face value, let's ignore any context, right? Do the atheists not know we affirm progressive revelation? Is this like some like mystical concept? I don't know. um, it's just like it's, I guess it's a mystical concept. Um, a met, but obviously a metaphorical or figurative psalm about how everything is vanity and that this stuff doesn't, like these physical things doesn't matter, um, is obviously being taken literally. But yeah, I would affirm that the Earth technically isn't forever because there's going to be. Does it do the logistics like there's going to be a second Earth, but I can't remember. Does the Bible say like the entire Earth will like actually just be destroyed and then He makes a new Earth, or is it the Earth will be cleaned off, and then like after it's been cleaned, it's then repopulated? I actually forgot. It's one of those two. I've seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. No man has seen God at any time. Obviously, the atheists aren't reading the Bible, right? It would have been very clear that it's God via agency, i.e., the angel of the Lord, who He wrestled with. Oh, not actually God. But we haven't. They haven't gotten to that part yet. They forgot those passages. The previous verses, they forgot to read them. Thou shalt not let any of your seed pass through the fire, Lord Molech. Therefore, neither shalt thou profane the name of the Lord. Judges, though the tale of Japheth, who led the Israelites against the Ammonites, is being told, being fearful of defeat. This good religious man sought to guarantee victory by getting God firmly on his side. So he prayed to God, if thou shalt without fail deliver the children of Ammon into my hands, then it shall be that whatsoever cometh forth of the doors of a house to meet, when I return in peace from the child of Ammon, shall surely be the Lord's, and I will offer it up for burnt offering. What? What's the... What? Where's the human sacrifice? Hold up, am I slow? Well, what's it? Let's go to the verse. I think I'm missing something. Might be a little slow here. Move out. If you give fight against any where's the human sacrifice? Oh, okay. So is he gonna sacrifice her now? I guess. Let this be done. Let me be alone 2 months. Go and weep for my virginity. And okay. So where was his? Okay, so hold up. Let's get this straight. Even let's say that the verse actually had the daughter sacrificed. It says not to sacrifice to Molech, a false god, right? So it's not saying not to sacrifice to God. It's saying, this verse is saying not to sacrifice to the false god Molech. B, he doesn't sacrifice her and kill her ever within the verse. So it's a sacrifice to a different god, and it's not a sacrifice to be killed. Where's the human sacrifice? Oh my gosh. This is not real, dude. What a contradiction here. Wow. The power will with God all things are possible. The Lord was with Judah, and he drave the inhabitants of the mountain, but could not drive out the inhabitants of the valley because they had chariots of iron. Alright. Okay. Just to start. This is the best one I've heard from this group ever. At least when you read the verses, it sounds like a contradiction. We're learning. This is miraculous. They're learning. This is the most surprising discovery ever. All right. As for this verse, this is so easy, dude. Hold up. Couple things. If you have any, let's just take this straight. If y'all have any reading comprehension, oh wait, isn't that just saying the daughter sacrifice? Yeah. It's not like an actual child like human sacrifice, like she dies. It's like an offering. But they didn't read. Anyways, if they had any reading comprehension here, you can see that it's talking about Judah. For example, where the Lord was with here. And the Lord was with Judah, and he, Judah, took possession of the hill country, but he, Judah, could not drive out the inhabitants of the plain because they had chariots of iron. And he, Judah, and in fact, hermeneutically, we can further justify this because if you go to Joshua 17:18, we see that God himself can actually drive out chariots of iron. Look. But the hill country shall be yours, for though it is a forest, you shall clear it and possess it to its farthest borders. For you shall drive out the Canaanites, though they have chariots of iron, and though they are strong. So God can do it. It's just Judah can't. No, that God wanted us to. Diabolical claim. Personal injury. Yeah, the progressive revelation, bringing of the new covenant. Right. I don't think they did. I don't think they got to that part yet. Do they know about the new covenant? I don't think so. I think they atheists, American atheists, might think that we're still under the old covenant. I'll chalk to them. I'll chalk that up to they didn't get to that part yet. They also for circumcision, right? Yeah. Man shall take his sister's father's daughter or his mother's daughter is a wicked thing. Okay, so lock in real quick. Think this through. Abraham does this. It was not a rule yet, was it? What comes first? Genesis or Leviticus and Deuteronomy? Genesis, right? Okay, so this wasn't a law yet. God isn't going to judge you for something he's never told you not to do. For something that's not a law. It's just not something he does. I.e. an example of this here. He judged it for people in the after this law was made. Abraham, he didn't because it wasn't a freaking law he made. He never told him. Like, it's just basic reading comprehension. Hold up, just in case, just for the atheists, American atheists, let's look the books of the Bible in order, right? Chronological order. Let's see. Genesis first, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. So Leviticus and Deuteronomy, they come after Genesis. What do you mean? What? Well, it depends. Do you look at the Old Testament through the lens of the New Testament, or do you look at the New Testament through the lens of the Old Testament? What do you mean? In reference to what? If I'm looking in this context, I'm looking at the Old Testament through the context of the current time. We'll chalk this one up. They didn't know the books of the Bible, like in the order yet. Trusting God, a good man obtaineth favor of the Lord. Now consider the case of Job. After commissioning Satan to ruin Job financially and to slaughter shepherds and children to win a petty bet with Satan, God asked Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, and perfect and an upright man? What is the contradiction? Bible contradictions. What is the contradiction? A contradiction, if the atheists don't know, is when a preposition is both true and false at the same time and same respect. Is the preposition God, a good man obtaineth favor of the Lord, both true and false in these verses at the same time and same respect? No. In fact, there's not even a false statement here. There's no contrary to this. There's no like antonym or whatever here. This verse doesn't say a good man does not obtain favor of the Lord. No. Like this is not real, dude. Let's see. Sorry, that was directed to someone in the chat when someone said atheists think we are no. Oh yeah. They're all misrepresentations because they know most of the won't do any research. Well, Jesus is a material being, God is immaterial. Yo, Jack, do you know about what the hypostatic union is? The hypostatic union, Christ is a hypostatic union, which means he has a human nature and divine nature united into one person. The divine nature is God, right? That's the ousia, the one being. That is immaterial. That's what makes Christ God. The human nature obviously is material, but the human nature isn't God. So that's not a contradiction. Walk with spirit. Sometimes it does when it's considered. Yeah, God is one and the Trinity can exist. Yes, it can. We are Trinitarians and we affirm one God. There's one being, or one. The ousia is the one being of God. The hypostases are how the ousia subsists in reality. Free will can't exist because God hardened Pharaoh's heart. Boom. Yet he allowed it to be hardened after he continued to reject it. That's what kind of argument is that? I have nice shades myself, but it's currently night, so Hey, Jack, come on, bro. We can do better than these arguments. Come on. Did the hypostatic union thing make sense to you? Did this make sense to you? On how the Trinity is one God. I mean, did this make sense? Okay, can you give like an actual contradiction? If you can give me a contradiction that cannot be refuted and debunked, I will leave Christianity right now. An actual contradiction, not a scribal error. I have a contradiction. Matthew said Jesus was born during the time of King Herod, the Great, around 4 BC. That's funny. Wait, Mighty, were you here for that? Believe in any religion. I think it's hard too, and I tried. Valentine, do you believe in God? Oh, we literally just went over this. Like a Muslim was arguing this on a YouTube video. The dating we have for Herod and Quirinius's rule is based off Josephus's records. So it's either Josephus, who is a historian, or Luke, who is a historian. Ultimately, it's really just whose words whose. The best way to go about answering that would be to like prove Christianity. For example, that's when I would go down the lines of like humans do not die for a lie they themselves made up, and that kind of argumentation. God is Valentine, do you believe God's real? God said incest is wicked, yet Jack, I literally debunked that like 2 minutes ago. These rules that God was saying, A, God didn't say that, or did not say that this was wicked. B, this rule of not to lie with your sister or not to do incest and this stuff came after Genesis. Multiple, like maybe, what is it? Probably over 1,000 years after the events of Genesis. We affirm progressive revelation. God's not going to judge Abraham on a law that he never told Abraham was a law, or that wasn't even a law in that time. That's just not a perfect judge. God's a just judge. A just judge isn't going to judge you on a law that you never knew about and that didn't even exist until after your time. Same way how like all the people before the time of Christ aren't just going to instantly go to hell because they didn't believe in Christ. God never gave me a goth group. Okay, dude. God didn't do what I want, therefore, and my wishes were correct and perfect, so therefore he doesn't love me. Is basically what you're arguing, if you make that point. The Bible is like, if you read the Bible in its entirety, it's not you get everything you want. It's obviously still got to align with God's will. Yeah, God's mean because he didn't listen to me. I asked for $1 million. He didn't give it to me. Trusting God. The worst argument ever, dude. I would be dying if someone brought this up as an actual contradiction. There's not even a contradiction here. Go thy way, eat thy bread with joy, and drink thy wine with they that rejoice as though they rejoice. What is the contradiction, dude? What? All right. Punishing crime. The son shall not bear the iniquity of the father. I am the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the father upon the children to the third or fourth generation. Yes, because that wasn't a law, dude. Just taking this, no context, nothing else, just these two verses. Exodus came before Ezekiel. This wasn't a rule. Progressive revelation. Okay, Jack. Okay. I live in a 99% Muslim nation. I've been an atheist since as long as I can remember. I say atheist because I don't think I believe there's a God. Valentine, do you have Discord? Do you want to come up right now, like on VC, and talk? I'll prove God to you. I got you, bro. All right, Jack. Jack, that's not good for the news, dude. Stop trolling. Valentine, you think that way because Muslims are deceived. It's funny. It's true. If I could believe in God, I'd choose Jesus 100%. Christianity is the most powerful story by far. Amen. All right. Temptation. When I use it for God again. Ooh. Best argument they have so far. I mean, any basic hermeneutics debunks this, but to shout out Sam, as I always do. Sam has a good debunking on this. I actually learned how to debunk this from him. Hold up. Am I tripping? Sam has to have a thing on this. Hold up. Abraham. God tempted Abraham. Okay, so like I guess I'm now schizophrenic. Yeah. I was just divinely revealed that I'm schizophrenic. Um I shouldn't have changed the title to Debating Atheists on TikTok Live after I already did all the debates. I did it because I didn't want to change it later. But now I got all the people joining. For the future, I know. Alright, I'll keep it. I'll take the viewers. I don't care. King here died, then his son owned some of the land for a short time. Then I can get Discord, but I don't believe you'll convince me because I couldn't convince myself. I mean, I can prove God through a deductive argumentation and metaphysics, but I mean, whether it's convincing or like I guess it's completely up to you. You can be like, people can be willfully ignorant. This doesn't mean it's like wrong. Please remember the testaments are based on what each apostle thought, so they don't always match. That's actually a sign of veracity. If multiple people have all the exact details, it's usually a die. Plus, yeah. I'll fix this. At least I know if I title. Oh, whoops. At least I know if I title the next TikTok Live debating atheists on TikTok Live, or I'll get more viewers. It's good to know. Luke copies 65% of Mark. I mean, copies a little bit of a stretch. But ultimately, Mighty, you do know, like, if you've read, like, Luke, just the first chapter of Luke, Luke isn't an eyewitness. Luke is a historian. Look, inasmuch as many have undertaken to compile a narrative of things that have been accomplished among us, just as those who from the beginning were eyewitnesses and ministers of the word have delivered them to us, it seemed good to me also, having followed all those things closely for some past time, to write an orderly account for you. So Luke, he's not an eyewitness. He's a historian who has been following the ministries and the teaching the eyewitnesses, and decided to compile a narrative because he felt that he was in a position after following these guys to write an orderly account for Theophilus. Obviously, he's going to use stuff mentioned like Mark, etc., who Mark is a writer for Peter, who's an eyewitness, since he's compiling that stuff. It makes sense. If he was quoting from Luke's quoting from a first-hand account. That's a good historian. I try to force myself into believing. Why would I willfully ignorant about something? Oh, I'm not saying you would be willfully ignorant. I'm saying like some people can just be willfully ignorant even if it's been proven to them. I'd have no reason to believe why you would be willfully ignorant. Walk with the Spirit. It shows that the veracity is debunked because to copy that much show it's a what? So a historian who starts to write an orderly account because he's been following the eyewitnesses of Christ is quoting eyewitnesses for Christ. That means it's where'd you put it? That means it shows it is a lie. So historians quoting first-hand accounts, it is a lie. Okay. So we can't use first-hand accounts now. I mean, it's just the most moronic position you could hold, dude. Walk with. Where does Luke plagiarizing, dude? Mark was the writer for Peter. Peter told Mark what to write. Yeah, exactly. That's wild. That's what I'm saying. How is it plagiarism for Mark? Okay, so if Peter has Mark write for him and Peter tells Mark what to write, how is that plagiarism? It's just scholarly consensus. Like, can you justify these claims? We understand that Luke took from Mark. Obviously, that aligns with what he was and what his mission was. If he wasn't taking from eyewitnesses and the ministers, then this guy would just be a liar. But he's not plagiarizing, and like the way you're saying it, where he's word for word copying things, is crazy. Yeah, justify it. I know your claim. I think the funniest thing here is the fact that that Mark is plagiarizing from Peter because Peter had Mark write down his eyewitness account. That's the best thing I've heard all day, dude. I know we got a little genius over here. That's crazy. Yes, and Greek is a very evident word for justify your claim, dude. Oh, okay. Okay. Also, arguing that English is way more words than Greek would make this less of a plagiarism. That means they had less words to work with, meaning there's between Greek texts there's going to be more common words or more commonly used words because there's less synonyms for words. There's a smaller diction to be used. You're like arguing in our favor. I appreciate for the help. You gave me a little layup there. Yeah, okay. I mean, this is... Dude, these are not real, bro. These are really arguments. Christ affirms this too. He's talking about... I mean, you could just hermeneutically justify that. Since Christ affirms this too, I mean, he's talking about how much more you should love God to the point where God's so much further above everyone else, you hate them, but you still have to honor them and love them. It's not literally hate these people. And we know that hermeneutically because he tells you to love thy neighbor and to love your parents, etc. Resurrection from the dead. This is W atheist rage bait, dude. What makes me believe in God? The argument for motion. It's proof of God, and not evidence, proof. Because I can improve God. Purely logical, and it's not a God's of the gaps fallacy. That's why I believe. Ooh, I see you, ALC. Can't call yourself a slow boy if you're pulling this. Valentine is a balance between guidance and Okay, there's so much to listen to. Yeah. Caleb, if you got a Discord, you can add me and come up right now. We can talk. I'd love to talk. I'll run you through the argument. Yeah. This is like the worst list of contradictions and quotations I've ever heard. Like 90% of these, they're not even like a contradiction. Like this. What's the contradiction? Or like what? Like this. Where's the contradiction here? I don't think there's a single person on the planet that can logically show that this is a contradiction. Proud slow boy. I think you're smarter than you give yourself credit, ALC. Transcends? Yeah, transcends means like going above or is beyond something. So in this case, it's beyond the human mind or above, beyond its limitations or capacity. The secret Christians, yeah. For freedom, where if I practice in public, I'd be. Yeah. This is a really big problem. The persecution of Christians is actually a really big problem. It's wild work, dude. Imagine persecuting people and your religion's false. Unlucky. Make this a 360 video. I don't even think this will work. Look at the peak. What's the chat rate? Look at that. When I get the most views. Oh. Okay. Caleb, did you want to come up and talk? Brain science. Yeah, exactly. You can practice in private. Also that, if that's possible, to move countries. That works. Let's see. Most damning Bible contradiction. I mean, this is hermeneutically sound. I mean, I guess like it would be hermeneutically sound in just saying that he hung himself and at some point he fell and his guts burst out. That'd be hermeneutically sound. You don't even have to address like how that happened. You could say that, but I mean it's hermeneutically sound. I don't see the problem with that. No, man, sorry, I'm just listening to What religion are you? I'm Orthodox Christian. Dude, no wonder you stopped believing, bro. If I was a Jehovah's Witness, I would not want to be a Jehovah's Witness. That's so cooked. Oh my gosh, bro. This is so slow, dude. I feel like all these contradictions, or like 90% of them, would just be solved just by like understanding basic biblical hermeneutics, or just hermeneutics in general, like principle of charity, etc. Well, I know, let's say we straight up ignore persecution, it's way more likely to follow the religion that everyone practices around me than another one. So where's the freedom, where the place you grow up? There is no freedom there. Well, what do you mean? Valentine, there are different ways you could go about it, not gonna lie. Yeah, as long as you gotta be safe about that. I would move countries personally, but if you can't, practice in private. Pray in your head. Honestly, you could, if they like, even like if you're in a place where they catch you, I want to say that like that if it's a place where they catch you reading the Bible and they kill you, not to read, but at the same time, like, I feel like you can make the argument that like a Christian, like, you know how the Bible says not to serve any master except the Lord, like biblically, I guess you can make the argument that you would die for it, die for the faith. Hold up 1 second. Oh, I didn't mean to press that. Sorry, I'm just trying to turn my screen off real quick. I just gotta fix something. All right, we're back. Sorry, I just had to turn my take my phone off the thing. Okay. It was slightly different Bible, but it's Exodus 21. Wait, what? Exodus 21 makes you, or like made you stop believing? What about Exodus 21? If I had to guess, I have an idea. It's just the slavery thing. Or indentured servitude. How long were we debating for? Hold up. Okay, it's 2 hours. Because of the slavery. This is, I hate every time I exit out of this. It doesn't say where I'm at. It doesn't keep playing. Let's see. Why would anyone believe anything in the Bible when it's just regurgitated garbage from previous religions? Zoroastrianism. Crazy. So like, do you believe like the Bible just steals off, or is it like the general concept, for example, God, etc.? I mean, I don't see like logically how, if it's just general broad concepts like the idea of God or something, it's therefore like not something that's believable or you should believe in because someone else thought about a God beforehand. I don't think it's like a logically sound reasoning. Sanctioning owning another human being as if, well, Caleb, you do realize like the Old Testament isn't the perfect law of God, right? And the Levitical laws are a basis, and then as time goes on, it gets more stricter and stricter and stricter, etc. And then you come to the New Testament with the New Covenant, and the perfected word, perfected law, and those types of things. Slavery was always a very big, like, part of the culture and how things operated in that time. And he gave a guidelines, since it's part of like how they lived and how they functioned as a country and society. They inspired by God, yeah, but it's not the perfect law of God. It's like with a child, you don't start them off with every chore. You start them off with one or two chores, and as times goes on, you give them more and more responsibility. It's like the same thing there. He started them off with a base set of laws, and as time went on, he made more and more responsibilities, more strict, and eventually came the New Covenant, when he made the perfected law. As I was saying before, slavery was a part of how the societies and countries operated in that time, and instead of just removing it, which could be pretty damning with like the societal structure and how crops and livestock and building, etc. functioned, he put a cap and rules on it, and like basically like a general guideline, and eventually that was done away with. Well, I mean, he shouldn't give guidelines. He's God. He should relieve the suffering. Well, you do realize suffering is not from God, right? Like you can like logically show that a fully actualized being, since it's all good, can't create evil. And evil is just the absence of good. So like really suffering just comes about from rejecting God, not because like he created it. It's the absence of good. So we couldn't think of a better way to get it to function than to have like, well, think about it logically, right? Ultimately, we don't know the exact answer